Good evening and welcome to the 11 p.m. news on Independent Television. I am Solomon Aino. We're starting off from the Federal Capital Territory, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared that terrorism and banditry are alien to Nigerians' collective identity as he reaffirms his administration commitment to inclusive economic growth, macroeconomic stability, and strengthening national security. Our State House correspondent Ikaro Atta reports the president, who vowed to defeat terror, spoke at the opening of the second edition of the National Economic Council (NEC) conference at the Presidential Villa in Abuja.
Gathered here at the banquet hall of the State House are governors, ministers, lawmakers, and economic stakeholders. Speaking, President Bola Tinubu described NEC as a strategic platform for cooperative federalism, policy coordination, and collective national action, stressing again that violent crimes do not define Nigerians. The president assured of his administration's determination to reinforce the country's security architecture and restore peace across troubled communities, linking insecurity directly to economic stagnation. He disclosed that 7 mechanization zones would be established nationwide to support agricultural productivity, adding that the fight against violent crime remains a top priority of his government.
To strengthen our security forces, to defeat terrorism and combat that, I promise you, is what has kept all of us sleepless at night. But I assure you that we will win with determination and resilience.
Describing insecurity as a major economic hindrance, the president says all tiers of government must work collectively towards an urgent and lasting solution, while commending the governors of Borno, Katsina, and Kaduna states, among others, for doing so much to defend the country's freedom, liberty, and commonwealth. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who chairs NEC, called for deeper collaboration among the 3 tiers of government, describing the council as a decisive forum for shaping Nigeria's economic direction through debate and consensus. The convener of the conference and Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, lauded the president's sustained engagement with the council as a symbol of respect for Nigeria's federal structure. Representing the chairman of Nigeria's Governors Forum, Governor Dapo Abiodun, underscored the central role of state in shaping macroeconomic outcomes through investment decision, tax administration, service delivery, while calling for discipline and socially legitimate implementation of reforms. From the old banquet hall, Aso Rock Presidential Villa, Abuja, I'm Ikaro Atta, ITV News.
Former Labour Party presidential candidate and ADC hopeful Mr. Peter Obi has won the Senate against electoral manipulation. Obi stated this when he joined hundreds of protesters at the National Assembly in Abuja to oppose the Senate amendment of the electoral law. As ITV's Augustine Innocent reports, the placard carrying protesters who turned out in their hundreds blocked the main entrance to the National Assembly.
It was a sight to behold as protesters chanting different slogans thronged the National Assembly main entrance, with placards reading several inscriptions such as "Our vote must count," "Make electronic transmission of election results to the IREV mandatory," "No to electoral robbery," among others. The demonstrators marched from the Federal Secretariat to the National Assembly. They were, however, stopped by heavily armed security operatives, including the police, the army, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and were forced to hold the protest outside the complex. The protest tag occupied the National Assembly was obviously organized by a civil society coalition and other pro-democracy group over the Senate's removal of the phrase "real time" from provision on the electronic transmission of election results. Joining the protesters is the former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who wants that credible election remain critical to Nigeria's stability and development.
The giant of Africa is the one that wants to do things wrongly. What is wrong in just a simple process of transmitting votes properly? Simple transmission.
Other protesters, including Aisha Yusufu, Peter Abudu, accused lawmakers of undermining democratic reforms and vowed to sustain the demonstration until the National Assembly reverses the amendment. From the National Assembly 3-Arm Zone, Abuja, Augustine Innocent, ITV News.
The FCT Commandant of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Dr. Olushola Odumosu, says stolen government assets in the FCT worth over 1 billion naira has been recovered from second-hand markets commonly referred to as Panteka. He made this disclosure on Monday when the Managing Director of Independent Television and Radio, Engineer Elvis Obaseki, led a management delegation on a courtesy visit to his office. As correspondent Juliet Dangiwa reports of the MD of ITV lauded the contribution of NSCDC in the security of life and properties as well as critical national assets.
The Managing Director of Independent Television and Radio, Engineer Elvis Obaseki, and his team of management staff upon arrival at the FCT NSCDC Command Headquarters were warmly ushered into the office of the Commandant. Speaking on the purpose of the visit, Engineer Elvis Obaseki, who appreciated the warm reception, lauded the efforts of the officers and men of the NSCDC.
So many things are happening in the space that we are in now, and I don't think this visit could have been better maybe a month ago. It would have been a lot more with nothing to talk about if it had happened like a month ago. Taking over the ability to really secure the space.
In his response, Commandant Olushola Odumosu highlighted what the command is doing to ensure the protection of national vital assets and infrastructure, which is the core mandate of the organization. He disclosed that raids of Panteka has yielded positive results in recovery of stolen assets worth billions of naira. He also explained efforts by the Corps to regulate and supervise private security guard firms which are sanitizing the sector.
The mandate of NSCDC is protection of critical national assets and infrastructure. We have been able to stem the tide of vandalism, as we speak today. We started our 24 hours surveillance and patrol. The items of government that we were able to, rescue out of the Panteka market was over 1 billion. There is a semblance of peace within the FCT. Security in FCT cannot be compromised.
In the spirit of collaboration and appreciation of the efforts of the Corps, the Managing Director presented souvenir to his hosts at the end of the visit before the group photograph session. From Abuja, Juliet Dangiwa reporting for ITV News.
The Edo State Police Command has arrested 3 kidnapped suspects in connection with the abduction of a medical doctor, Dr. Abu Babatunde, and the killing of his brother in Auchi, Esako West local government area. The Command Public Relations Officer, ASP Eno Ikwedem, will reveal this during a press briefing, said the arrest followed a series of intelligence-led operations as efforts intensified to dismantle the criminal network responsible for kidnapping activities in the area. Crime correspondent Jolade Ojo reports.
According to ASP Eno Ikoadem, the first major arrest was made on the 3rd of February 2026 when operatives of the Auchi Division, during a bushcombing operation, intercepted a suspect identified as Saminu Kawujie. A search conducted on the suspect led to the recovery of 2 knives, 2 mobile phones, a UBA ATM card, and the sum of 20,250 naira, while an identification parade later confirmed him as one of the abductors of Dr. Abu Babatunde. ASP Eno further disclosed that on the 8th of February 2026, acting on another intelligence lead, the divisional police officer of the Auchi Division mobilized operatives to the specialist hospital Auchi, where 2 additional suspects, Idris Abubakar and Sonny Abubakar, were arrested. The suspects were also identified as members of the gang that kidnapped the medical doctor, with Idris Abubakar specifically identified as the individual who received the ransom paid for the doctor's release.
We've been on the trail of the kidnappers, and fortunately we had a breakthrough on the 3rd of February where a suspect was arrested. On the 8th of February we had another breakthrough where we had intelligence that some of those gang members identified were seen at the specialist hospital. Investigation is ongoing with efforts to close in on the rest of the gang members. My advice to members of the public is to continue supporting the police. Command's 247 active lines are equally open. Give us information and we'll work with it.
The Edo State Police Command has reassured members of the public of its resolve to pursue all kidnapping and crime cases to a logical conclusion and bring perpetrators to justice. From the command headquarters in Benin, Jola Deojo, ITV News.
The Department of State Service, DSS, has formally taken over the investigation into the attack and abduction of Dr. Pedro Obaseki in Benin City on December 28, 2025. The incident is now being treated as terrorism-related following petitions submitted by his legal team. In a state of the case, a statement issued by his lead counsel, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, the DSS headquarters in Abuja, was said to have assumed the full conduct of the investigation in recognition of the nature, gravity, and wider implication of the act outlined in the petition. The statement adds that Falana described the decision to classify the matter as terrorism-related as quite commendable. According to the statement, the petition alleged terrorism-related conduct, conspiracy, assault, unlawful detention, and obstruction of justice arising from the event on December 28. Falana said Dr. Obaseki welcomed the development and he continued to cooperate fully with all lawful investigative processes. It is disclosed that the complaint has previously engaged with the DSS in Benin City under the authority of the state director, adding that any concern arising from those interactions, including issues of conduct, handling, and procedural integrity, had been formally documented and incorporated into consolidated representation before the appropriate authorities. The legal team has also instituted civil proceedings before Nigerian courts. Falana said these actions are intended to complement and not just prejudice ongoing investigation by security agencies while seeking judicial remedies and institutional accountability. Beyond Nigeria, petitions have been submitted to international and regional bodies, including ECOWAS, Court of Justice, European Union Human Rights Mechanism, and the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture and Arbitrary Detention. Falana said the steps were taken to ensure transparency, preservative of evidence, and adherence to Nigeria international obligation. The statement further notes that social media and digital platforms have been placed on notice over the circulation of footage linked to Dr. Obaseki's alleged dehumanization and abduction in order to ensure responsible platform conduct and cooperation with lawful accountability processes. Dr. Obaseki stressed that all action taken were solely in furtherance of justice, the rule of law, and public accountability, not for sensitization or political motives, while calling on authorities and the public to support efforts to ensure that all criminal perpetrators, collaborators, and enablers are identified and held to account. And with that report, we come to an end of the 11 p.m. news on Independent Television. I am Solomon Aina. Good night.
ITV, certainly the best.